So, Krish, welcome to my podcast, The Art of Feeling Better.
Oh,
I've been
thank you for
I've
having me.
been dying to get you to chat with me for ages because we're basically the same person, same birthdays and everything, haven't we?
Yes, we do.
And yeah, our mission is definitely aligned. And yeah, I just thought let's just see if you're back from your travels and if you're up for it, so that I could pin you down for a chat. So yeah, so welcome. I thought I would just start by asking you just to give me a little rundown of your story, because you're usually on the other end of this with your amazing organization, talking to people and finding out their amazing and inspirational stories. And my topic for the next few weeks on the podcast is around just that, around storytelling and how we can share wisdom and help each other and inspire each other. So who better than to bring into the room than you? So yeah, the shoe's on the other foot now. I'm going to ask you questions about your damn inspirational story, if you don't mind sharing how it all
Yeah,
started.
of course. I mean, do you want me to start from the very beginning or more recently? Like, where do we?
Start from the very beginning. I know we're on a little bit of a time constraint, but I've heard your story on the stage before now, and it's just like I don't want people to miss this. So you don't have to do the War and Peace version if you don't want to, but just where it all started from your background, if you can give us a whistle stop of that.
Absolutely. So I'm born and raised in the northwest of England in Bolton. Yeah, good old Bolton. I'd say the land of the clouds, but it's actually a blue sky day today.
Is
So
it?
yeah. Um, but essentially half English, half Indian. Mum's English, blonde hair, blue eyes. Dad's Indian, and essentially everything came down to never fitting in.
Mm,
I never felt like I fit in. From as young as I can remember, all my mates were English, like
mm.
white English lads, and hanging about with them, playing football and all these things. I didn't look like them, and I was always like, "Yeah, I'm the outsider." I remember wishing I was white
Did
and
you?
I looked like my mum. And then my dad, in the Indian community, I didn't speak the language, and I was like, I wasn't from India. I'd never been to India, so like, I'm a Bolton lad. Like, why are you talking to me as if I'm Indian, kind of thing? Like, I didn't get it. And now I look back on that time and I'm like, I love the fact I got the best of both worlds, like the two cultures,
Yeah.
the the fact it's so amazing. But when you're young, you just want to fit in.
Mm,
There, even now, you want community. And I
mm.
think looking from the work we've both done, essentially part of the reason I've done what I've done is essentially I've made a community that I feel most comfortable with. And
Yeah.
I found a gap, which was I couldn't figure out where to fit in. So I
Yeah.
created essentially. But went through all this childhood, all this kind of things, uh, racial struggles where people would be racist to me and all this kind of stuff. But 18, I became a professional footballer, and football was my life. I have to caveat this: I cared about girls, cars, money, superficial things. Really, like you
Football
know,
life.
yeah, all that kind of stuff. A typical football lad, like. But on all of this, I was deeply unhappy, because everything that I'd wanted to have in my life was all external. It was all those materialistic things. It was all things that were really shallow. And
Mm.
I didn't realize this until 20 years old. And I got a scholarship to go and play football in the US. And I went over to California. I got told living in a mansion, massive house, living in a beach in California, full scholarship. And I turned up in California and it was not what I thought. I was in a 3 bedroom house with 13 other guys, and I was miles away from the beach I'd been promised, and my scholarship had been lied to. Um, I just was massively unhappy. And there was one guy in our team, and he was called Gabby, and he was always smiling, always. And he had it worse than me. He was from Brazil. He hardly spoke any English, and he was living in a basement of the house. And he was always like, "Bro, never give up. Got this." And I remember thinking, man, I hate this guy because he's just
So happy.
too happy. Like, what's this? What have you got to be happy about? And it came to the point where I would literally avoid hanging about with Gabby. And it got to one stage when I said, "That's it. I'm done with here in the US. I'm going back to Bolton." And Gabby said did two things that changed my life forever. He said, "Chris, were you happy in Bolton?" And I said, "No." He said, "If you keep running away from your obstacles, you'll never overcome anything in life." Really simple. I'd always wanted a life of comfort, not a
Mm.
life of obstacles. And I've been always escaping those obstacles, trying to break through. But actually, the obstacles are the ways to progress through life and develop. And that was number one. And the second thing he did was he didn't speak to Krish Patel, the person in front of you. He spoke to the best version of me, and he spoke to the potential of who I could be, even if I didn't believe in that. And that was, no one had ever done that to me before. I'd never experienced, not on a, people may have done it from a GCSEs or from a
Yeah.
perspective of work, but no one had done it from a life perspective that you can be a better human, you know? And I want to speak to that better human that exists in front of me. And I was like, I didn't realize this at the time, but my values started to change. That's when I started practicing Nichiren Buddhism, and I was the least religious person in the world, and all my philosophies and values in life started to change to the point where, 2018, so 6 years after that, I then built a school in Uganda. I'd done marathons across the UK, and I started caring about people. And there's this concept in Buddhism that talks about Eshofuni, and Eshofuni is the oneness of self and environment. So if you want to change your environment, the only way you can change your environment is by changing yourself. And you are a direct reflection of your life, of your environment. And this was a really incredible concept for me to realize, because when I started changing myself, everything automatically started changing in my environment, to the point where lecturers at my university would come to me and ask for a conversation. And I'd be like, yeah, of course. And then they'd tell me that they're self-harming or they're feeling suicidal or depressed. And then people would start doing that. And I'm like, I have done nothing different except change myself. And these people start sharing these things with me. And I'm like, who am I to do anything? All I did was create a space, see their potential, and speak to that potential. And yeah, it came to the point when 2018 I came back to the UK. I didn't want to be here in Bolton, and my visa got rejected, and I saw a bunch of homeless people everywhere. So there's homeless people all over Manchester. I was like, why? So I started to ask questions, and I started to speak to these people on the streets. I ended up running a homeless organization, and every week we'd go out into the streets, and basically it was an outreach organization connected to people on the streets. And I'd start getting abuse, people from, coming out of their offices in their suits and ties.
Yeah.
Who do you think you are trying to help these homeless people? Or you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And if if they're not willing to help themselves, who do you think you are trying to help these people? And I was like, you know what, you just don't get it. You just don't get it. And that got to the point where someone said to me, you're wasting your time, go and earn as much money as possible, have a family, have kids, and get married, kind of thing. And I was like, that is just not me. And so I decided to swim all the lakes in the Lake District, all 53 miles, and I called it the Swim for Shelter campaign. And I helped 36 homeless people from the money I raised into employment in Manchester. And I mean, what was I, 24 at the time? I had no idea what I was doing. I never swam. I was a jacuzzi swimmer. I never swam.
You weren't even a swimmer, were you? It's not like you were a professional swimmer that thought, I can use this skill to do something. You're like, I'm going to go and swim.
I'm just going to, yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, right? It's all about action. Everything I discuss and everything I believe in is action based. Like, words can mean so much, but what are you going to do about it? And it's not even about having the action to do the right. It might not be the right thing for you, but
No.
doing an action makes you know what wasn't the right thing to then do the right thing.
It's either the right thing or it's a learning point, and both of those things are the right thing. That's why I keep trying to tell people that anything you do is right. It just might not feel as comfortable, or it might feel amazingly comfortable, but it's always right. You just have to do something. You just have to move.
Yeah, exactly. And that's essentially what I started to realize when I'd done that. I was deeply unhappy. Like, when I did all these challenges and things, and when I was helping all these people,
You're still unhappy?
I didn't want to be in the UK. I was working a job I hated. I felt like so trapped. I felt like no one understood me.
Yeah.
I felt like all my friends were in America. My family, like the people I would consider like really, in the self-made family, when you get to create people that, and it's one thing when you get to live outside of your home and you meet new people. It's like you get to create your own family,
Yep.
and it's the most precious thing you can do. I love that. But essentially, I was super unhappy. I remember writing in my diary and just like being like, "What's the point in this? All I want to do is help people. Why do I feel so wrong in doing that?"
Mm.
And then that's where Tales to Inspire was created. Essentially, I realized that one of the big things I've always enjoyed is stories. And it goes back to grandparents for me. Like my Indian and my, so in Gujarati, in my Indian language, Bar and Bapa means grandma and granddad. So I would just listen to them sharing stories of what it was like in India and like the village life and all this stuff. And I wouldn't say anything, I would just be listening. And my grandma and granddad in Blackpool, my English grandma and granddad, I would just listen and they'd tell me about them and their stories and their grandparents and all this kind of stuff. And I was just fascinated. And I just remember thinking, that is the best thing that I can take from anything is other people's stories. And I
Mm.
thought, where can I find that? So I started going on podcasts, I started going on blogs and YouTube channels, and everything was really about, at the time, it was all about like celebrities or
It's the
like,
superficial again, isn't it? It's not real people.
it wasn't people I could connect to. It
Yeah.
was there was a bridge, even an Olympian, there's a bridge between me and that Olympian. I couldn't find anything that was real life people that connected to my story. And I started to think, right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share people's stories. I'm going to call it Tales to Inspire. I'm going to do it on a blog. I'm going to interview people, and I'm just going to put it out there. And the first person we shared, Danny. Danny was a friend of mine. He was homeless. He got off the streets, and we put his story out there. And someone read it. A young lady who's going to take her own life read that story, and we had helplines. We put helplines at the end of every story, and she went and got help. I mean, that was within a day.
And
I
story.
can't believe it, like mad, right? I mean, within 3 days, his story being read in 15 countries around the world, and I started to think like, maybe there's something to
You've
this,
got something. Mm.
and I didn't know what it was. Like this is 2020, right? So November 2019.
So
So
before COVID then, before lockdown,
before
wasn't it?
COVID, right? And January 2020, I quit my job. I was like, I'm doing this full time. Like I hate my job. I'm doing this, and I went in to do it. And the idea was have a blog and then do live events. So have those people who share their stories in person, like TED Talks a little bit,
Hmm.
but people would buy tickets and come and watch that. And we did our first event was March the 4th, 2020. I think we had like 85 people come. I was buzzing. And then March the 16th, I think it was, COVID got announced, right? So all live events went out the window. Um, I didn't have a revenue model. It wasn't a business. I was just sharing stories. And people kept reminding me of that. You don't have a business. You just
Yeah.
share. There's no,
What you trying to do here?
if people came to me and said, can I buy something? I had no product.
We've had this conversation, haven't we, so many times. We're meant to be doing it. I don't want to run a business. I just want to do it.
But it's mad, right? And essentially the crazy thing, and this is where doing means so much because I did. I did this and I kept sharing stories. And then people would say, can you put it onto a podcast? We want to listen to these. All right, I'll put it onto a podcast. I'll put it onto to these stories to be listened to. Then schools reached out. Can you bring these people into schools or can you deliver workshops? So I started going to schools, and that's where the paid work started.
Yeah.
And the corporate space reached out. Can you bring these people into the corporate world and inspire people? So it was like, right, we can do that. And then video YouTube started. We started the YouTube, and now to the point where November the 4th this year is our 5th year anniversary. And essentially we've shared the stories of 164 people. Our stories have been read in what 160 or maybe more countries around the world. We do live events. I'm starting to look at like huge like funding bids, and I'm starting to think like, you know what, like we've got something really special because I've built relationships with the key community people, whether that's within any societal injustice. So you look at refugees, you look at homeless people, you look at entrepreneurship and the struggles of people starting their own businesses, you look at poverty, you look at any mental health, any societal injustice. I've got a story that we've shared and we can inspire via a workshop, a panel discussion, a keynote talk, a program. We can put it on for that company, that school, whatever it is. We put stories into books, we put it onto documentary films. We've done things for all sorts of really cool people. And we started to build a team. that it's kind of informal still. And my aim
I
is to,
love that. I love that about it though. I think that's what makes it relatable
yeah,
because it feels safe. It feels like the whole thing, like the campfire analogy. It feels like you're with your people and your tribe and your share. It's. I think I think you just got that sweet spot and you've got that. It's just brilliant the way you do it because it's so authentic and it's from your heart and it's how you vision it to be. But I think that's the key to keep it.
and
rel-
that's it has to be real. So when
Mm,
we go into the corporate space, part of the thing that we say is you're not going to get a polished, niche, beautiful, all singing and dancing. The person's going to turn up in a suit. No, you're going
that's
to get
it's fake.
you're going to get the person. You're going to get the right real person, and you're going to get what they do.
Yeah.
Like, and you got to remember that your people are also people. Like, let's cut the artistic acting and
Yeah.
let's cut to the real thing. So essentially, that's where Tales from Spire is. I mean, there's some huge things that, like, stories of migration is one of the areas that I see that we can definitely do something is capturing stories and supporting communities, because one of the big disconnects I see, one of the big disconnects I see is from people and grassroots communities and the societal change. We talked about this before, is systemic change.
Yeah.
The same thing I keep coming across is, we're going through the same problems, we're doing this, we're firefighting, we're doing these things, and all of these things, education, you can look at like I
Health,
always say,
social care. Yeah.
health, social care, anything that you want to look at. And the same thing is there's a gap between the system and the people.
And the people, yeah, and the people, we've had this conversation before. I know we have, but you and I both know that the people experiencing the challenges have the solutions. They know what they need. They're just not heard, and they don't have a platform, which is why what you do is so special and powerful, because nobody listens and nobody because people are too busy around the board tables going, we know what they need. We're going to put money into this because this is definitely what people need, and the people are going, actually, I really need this, but you're just not listening. So if we can be those bridges and we can help that, but it's that massive canyon of a gap that just desperately needs filling, desperately.
Yeah,
So
I absolutely agree. And then, I mean, and there's so much on this. I mean, I've not even talked about another company. So I have another company that I started because I just love challenges. I started Story Oak in
we
20.
got the same person. It's ridiculous.
Man, so good though. So
Say
much
that one.
fun.
Go on. What's the other one called?
But I started Story Oak in 2023 last year in Feb, and essentially that was, I realised that I'd always wanted to capture my granddad's life story in 2019, um, but not a book and not an audio, not a private video. I wanted him telling his life so that I and my brother and sister and my family would always have that. So if I
Yeah.
have kids, but I realized there was nothing out there.
No.
So my granddad passed away in 2019, so I didn't get the chance. But in 2020, during COVID, I went to my grandma's and I filmed my grandma. And I filmed it. I got one of my friends, Tom, who's a videographer, to film her. And we took it back and we gave it to all my family members for Christmas. And they got this. My grandma talked about meeting my granddad when she was 12, my granddad, and cycling from Blackpool to Darwin, where she lived over the summer holidays at 12, and then her being away and sort of going back. And she was like, all these things that I never knew about, and it means nothing to anyone else, but it means so much to me. And talks about the war and rations and all this amazing stuff that none of us knew about in our family. And I thought, you know what? There's something really special with this, because there's no one that I know. There's books, people can put their stories into books, but there's no
Yeah.
one who puts them into video documentary series. So now what we do at Story Oak is you get 3 to 5 episode video documentary of your life or a family member's life story that's private, protected, and you get to keep forever. It's all done digitally. You can put it to your TV, you can put it wherever you want. And essentially, it's something really special. It's something really special, and you can cherish forever. And then you can add family members into that. So you've got your whole family tree of their life story, but as told by them. So you get their accents, you get their humor, you get them telling it. It's really cool. And
So
it's
what
something,
an amazing gift.
yeah, and it's the perfect gift. I mean, that's the thing. It's the perfect gift. There's nothing more special. And often people are wondering, like, what can I get my grandparents, or what can I get my parents?
Yeah.
It's like, that's the thing that I would. But with everything, and you said this, I'm terrible at sales. I'm,
That's
so
not what we're here for, mate. We're not here to sell. We're here to change.
exactly. So I've built this thing and I've got it to a point with Tales to Inspire going on with this. The next thing
Yeah,
is
that's cool.
selling essentially. So it's getting it out there. But essentially that's where we bring me to today, where I see it as I'm a massive change maker. I have massive dreams, but sometimes I feel really, really helpless. I have to admit, like sometimes I feel really down because the problems of the world feel so big.
Yeah,
They
I hear you.
feel massive.
Yeah.
Then and today you've got me a really good day. But the last couple of weeks I've been like proper on it where I feel massively hopeful because I feel like dream big and take action and watch what will happen.
Mm.
And I really feel that the bigger your dream, the better. So for example, all my goals and all my determinations are massive.
Yeah, same.
Massive because I'd rather miss out. And realistically, I'm never going to hit them. I'm never going to hit them because
Never say never.
I'd rather miss out and just be underneath because they're that big.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole shoot for the moon. You're still going to reach the stars analogy, isn't it? It doesn't matter. It's the biggest thing for me, the fear. I suppose it is fear of missing out in a way, I guess, but it's the fear of having regrets, of not doing things when I have every opportunity to do them. So, if I have the ability to do things, why am I not doing them? Why am I not? If I have the ability to be of service and help other people and do things with my family and just have dreams and go for them, why on earth would I not do that? So I'm spending my life trying to help people through that process while I'm navigating it myself.
Yeah,
It's
100%. And it's not. I think it's not the easy way. I think it's really important for people to understand that the right way is not always the easy way. And
yeah.
I think that's a big learning curve for me personally from who I was to who I am.
Mm.
Is I am not taking the easy route, and I'm very conscious of that. And
Yeah.
anyone who's in my life, like
Yeah.
Mel, my partner, or anyone else who's in my life, they have to understand that I'm not taking the easy route. So if you want someone to be there all the time, you want someone to be able to be that person that is going to spend 100% of their time with you, and that's not me. That
Yeah.
and my purpose is huge. I really feel like we all have a purpose.
Yeah.
But I see mine as I can't do the traditional. I can't
Yeah.
do in a
And
box.
again, we are the same person. We must have been split somewhere on the line. But I totally resonate with you because I've been, my poor husband, 30 years we've been together now. He's just used to it. 4 kids, the guilt and the kind of wrangling with, should I be just doing what everybody else does? No, I can't. It's not. I have my purpose. I know exactly what my purpose is. And my purpose is to support other people in finding their purpose. And that's really tough because there isn't, and I'm kind of navigating that first and trying to light the path. And it's all about shadow work, which is what you're talking about. It's not the easy. You have to work through stuff that feels uncomfortable and you have to do things that feel scary and you have to, and a lot of people, like we're both Saggies, we both come across as very, very confident and very, very, because this is just who we are. And I can remember I've written about it in my book as well. So many times over the years, people have said it's all right for you. You're confident, and that kind of, it's like it's different somehow for us, but it's the same feelings, the same fear, the same challenges, the same graft, and the same kind of feelings of despair and that kind of stuff. We just deal with it slightly differently, I guess, and we have that veneer of confidence that maybe other people don't have. But I worry sometimes that people think, but I can only be like that if I'm like that. Anybody can just do anything they want to do. That's the message, isn't it? It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. You have the capacity to make profound changes and do anything you want to do.
Yeah, 100%. The internal way, like you can do, and I know it's really, it's hard because everyone's in a different perspective, and I get it. Like you're trying to survive, and so many of us are just trying to survive and get through the day and things like that. But there is always something that you can do for you. I don't care if you've got 12 kids and you've got 4 jobs and you've got. I mean, some of the most inspiring people that I know are some of the oldest people who've got the biggest health problems and the biggest obstacles, and their spirit
Yeah.
through the roof. They're
Yeah.
so youthful and they're so inspiring, and you're just like, I want a bit of what you've got.
Yeah. Bottle that.
Yeah,
But and tell it. It's
and that,
stories, though, isn't it? It's the stories as well that gives people that power. Everybody has the story to share. It's so therapeutic, and I'm really glad that the whole narrative around storytelling is becoming more and more open and out there. And people realize the value of stories, not just I remember a good friend of ours. have their masters in storytelling, and people are like, oh, is that like reading Goldilocks? Like, no, that's not storytelling. You know, it's opening the conversation around what it really means, and digging a bit deeper into everybody's story, which is just what you do, just so beautifully. And it's so great to see another person that's kind of clicked into place and lined up with their purpose, because I resonate. I know it's tough. I know we make a good show of it on socials, but you know you where you are, you know where you're going, and you know you've kind of got that. And that is my hope for everybody out there, that you can have that as well, and you can find your purpose, because everybody has that there. Your soul's blueprint is waiting to be expressed. You just need a nudge sometimes in the direction to find what that is. And we're really lucky, aren't we? We're so fortunate, as tough as it is, that we found that. We know what we know. We're living out what we're meant to be doing.
There's a concept once again in Buddhism, from one of our mentors in Nichiren Buddhism, a guy called Mr. Makiguchi, and he talked about this concept of beauty, gain, and good. And he talks about, if you want to do anything within your workplace or whatever you're doing, just ask beauty, gain, and good. So essentially, do you enjoy it? First of all, beauty. Do you enjoy it? Is it good? Do you like it? Gain. What do you gain out of it? Is it financial? Is it knowledgeable? Is it wisdom? Is it a network? And then good, are you impacting others?
Beautiful.
So when I left my job in 2019, 2020, I didn't enjoy it, so I had no beauty. I had the gain I was earning, I had the same amount at the end of the month that I did at the start of the month. So everything was going into bills. And so there's nothing, I wasn't saving anything, I wasn't enjoying the people I was with, and particularly, and I wasn't learning anything. So I had no gain. And the good, I certainly wasn't impacting people's lives. So I had 0 out of the 3. When I started Tale to Inspire, I had the beauty. I loved the adventure and the new thing, and the fact that I was impacting people's lives. I had the good, the fact that I was impacting people's lives. I didn't have the gain. So I didn't have the financial side of it. I had the knowledge and the network that was bringing, but I didn't have the financial side. But that's fine. And I still struggle financially, in all honesty, but I'm still here, 5 years down, and I'm still doing my purpose work. So it was really easy. 2 out of 3 was better than 0 out of 3. Really easy max for me. And I was like, right, there you go.
It always, and imagine if you'd had, I know we're on a time, so I'm going to ask you my questions in a second, but just imagine if you'd had the middle one and not the others. Would you have still done it if you had massive gain? And I know the answer, because if you'd had the financial gain but none of the other two.
Yeah, I mean, if I'd done it, I think I'm the kind of personality that I would have, 6 months down the line, I would have been like,
Not fulfilled. That's the thing. It's fulfillment. It's finding identity, passion, and purpose, and finding what fulfills you and lights you up. And unless you're taught that, and we've worked in schools, we've done this, unless you're taught that through the system, that you have to find out what that is. You can't look at an influencer, or you can't go on what society tells you should be happy with, because you feel it in your gut. You feel it. And if zeros on the bottom line is what lights you up, go for it. If it's not, you need to be aware of that. You need to know what it is that does light you up, so that you can follow that and be supported, and find your tribe and find where you fit. That's I think the missing link that nobody's taught, and parents aren't teaching it to their kids because they were never taught it. Teachers aren't teaching it to students because it's not something we talk about. We just crack on, follow what we're meant to follow, do what we're told, eat up what we're shown in the media, and then put a big mask on because everybody else looks like they're having a great time on social media. So we're all meant to fit into, we're told constantly who we should be, what we should aspire to do, and that we should be bloody happy with it. And that for me is the big problem, because nobody is understanding that their version of identity, passion, and purpose is completely different. They need to explore what that means for them.
yeah, I 100% agree. And it's deep.
It is. I like to get deep sometimes,
but it's deep, and it's not easy, right? And a lot of people, you need to have the spaces to be able to work with. And you know what? You need to have trust with each one person who can help you go through that.
Yeah, it's true.
You don't have to do it by yourself.
Yeah, it's right. You do. You need the right people around your campfire, don't you? That's the key. And even like you say, one person can make all the difference. Like the person that had said to you, that had talked to your higher self, I mean, I feel like that's my role. That's always been my role. And I get loads of stick sometimes for getting myself into sticky situations. And I can't help it, because when I'm speaking to somebody, all I see is their potential. And I am talking to that potential. I'm like just trying to nudge. And sometimes it works brilliantly, and sometimes I get myself into a little bit of a pickle, but it doesn't matter, because that's what I'm here to do. So you just learn, don't you, have lessons and learning points along the way. But I definitely hit when you were talking about that before. I thought, yeah, definitely, that's what I'm here to do. So I have 3 questions before I let you go. And have you got meetings all night now? Are you like on a
I've got a meeting after this, and then I'm actually writing funding bids, and you know how long that takes.
Oh man, I tell you, I don't envy it. Yeah. Oh,
Brutal.
I
So
can't even.
I've been sacrificing time, and this is another thing. Time management is my worst thing. I hate it. But
Yeah.
having to block out time when you're doing your own thing, and if you're starting your own business, or if you're
Hard.
not naturally organized and trying to do all of this, if I can do this, really,
I always said that. Like,
such a bullet out of a gun I am as a person. I'd like, A to Z, 1 minute I'm doing this, the next I can be doing a completely different thing. But if I
yeah.
can try and do this, anyone can really do anything because it's that, like, you know what I mean?
It's the challenge, and it? It's so tough, that whole, because when you've got that visionary mind, I mean, I don't know whether you're like me in that respect, but it was a bit of a realization for me a few years ago that not everybody had the same brain, because you just assume that everyone experiences what you're experiencing. And I just see things in like movies. I know what my vision is, and I can see it clear as day. I know exactly where I'm going and what I need to do. And then I work my way back and chunk it back to the strategy and the steps I need to take to get there. I know I'm getting there. I've got no doubt in my mind. It's like, oh God, how do I navigate normal daily life to get to there? And apparently not everybody has that. So it's quite difficult to manage that level of vision when you're trying to like be a mum of 4 and pay the bills and do all the normal mundane stuff. But you find your way around it. You find the system that works for you. But I think a lot of people, when I'm saying that, they're like, that's weird, because a lot of people don't have that. They just getting through the next second, the next hour, and that makes me so sad, because they haven't got that vision for themselves. And it just, that's what I want to help people to find and to open up to. So my first question to you, I've kind of answered it by the amazing work that you're doing, but you might have another bit of wisdom to throw in there. I'm asking everyone the same 3. How can we change the world? What is it that's going to make the shift?
What is it that's going to make the shift? It's empathy. In a nutshell, it's really, really simple. That it's not sympathy by feeling sorry for others, it's empathy. And that means understanding other people. And the only way to do that is to either live it or is to connect to others who live it. So it's breaking barriers with people who are not in your immediate community. So however you do that, and I think if you can do that, you can start to have conversations that wouldn't be natural conversations, understand what others are going through, and then you build bridges instead of like knocking down bridges. And when you do that, I think that's one of the keys. But I think from a global perspective and from a huge mind thinking on a simplistic way is the more bridges we build, the better. And I don't know if that's what people naturally do.
No, that's profound, mate. That is perfect. And I think you are exactly right that is what needs to happen. Totally feel it. That's exactly my perspective. And I think it is looking from the macro to the micro, that everybody is in a space where they're waiting for somebody else. It's that external locus of control. They're like, somebody fix this, it's shit. But if every single person had the mindset of, I will do my bit, I'll build my little bridge, tiny little bridge, then the big bridges would just form, and we wouldn't be waiting for somebody else to solve the problem. So I think that's huge, and it's something that it doesn't cost money. You can nurture and discover empathy, and you can work on those skills and just make some simple changes. It doesn't cost any money. It's not, it's not easy. It's hard. If you're naturally an empath, it's like, oh, the curse. It's like you just feel everything from everybody all of the time. But if you don't have that natural kind of instinct, then it takes a bit of developing and just listening to stories, listening to hear, not to respond, listening to really just absorb and bear witness to somebody else's experience without having to fix it or judge it or have an opinion on it. That's the skill, isn't it? That's the key. That's the true empathy, I think. So next one, what small, tiny little thing, we're helping everybody to build a toolkit. So by the time I've got hundreds of guests under my belt, we'll have a really snazzy toolkit. What helps day-to-day basis, one little thing that somebody could do in their daily life that would help them feel better?
I'm going to keep going with I wouldn't usually say this, but keep going with what I've just said. Meet someone new, one person every day.
Oh, nice.
A new person, have a conversation with a new person. Not hi, how you doing? Like really get to know someone new on a day, whether that's booking in a meeting with someone you've not met, or whether that's, really whoever it is, meet someone new every day, and you'll be really surprised by the end of that week where that conversation leads.
Nice. And even just neurobiology, the chemistry, the connections you make. It's a buy one, get one free offer. You feel good, they feel good. That is paying it forward. And I love that. We've not had that one yet at all. That's new. I love it.
Happy days.
Last question. And how is that for timekeeping for two neurospicy brains that aren't very good with time? It's like, I mean, I own it the whole time. What is your best feel good tune? If you're really having a crappy day and you want to feel better, what do you put on loud to make yourself feel good? Because I'm going to add it to the Spotify list.
It's just a classic. House of Pain, Jump Around. I would probably go with is kind of, it's a bit old school, but it's like it's my go-to kind of like, I'm feeling a bit down, whip it on. It's just like, right, we're ready for a good
You know what,
time.
man? I can't believe you just said that because it's not on there yet, and it's got very big, significant meaning to me. That song, massive. I'll tell you later. I'll send you a message later. Yeah, and anyone watching this who knows me in my life will know that that's got a significance. But that has made me realize I'm going to put it on. I'm going to have a little dance around. So that is going straight on the Spotify playlist for sure. How cool! Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. We've got to catch up again properly. Even if I'll take a trip down and come and have a brew, that would be cool. Because I've got so much to catch up on. And I think there's some synergy there between what you're doing. There always has been, but I think now we're formulating the business models a bit better. There's stuff that we could do that might really sort of get the impact even bigger. And I want to link you in again with Paul, with Try Life, and I want to link you in with Anthony for sure on his travels, because there's things, I've got my fingers in so many pies, mate. There's things that are building. So we've had both of those guys on as guests so far. So let's do some cool stuff. Let's do some cool stuff together and see if we can get the word out even more and help each other's businesses. So
well, that's one of the things, like, we're always there, aren't we? Connected. We're
yeah.
always, I can always reach out, and it's like,
I mean, it's a process, isn't it? It's like a bit of a tapestry, and sometimes things happen. And I feel like 2025, I've said this a few times, I'm like Mystic Meg, like the Oracle keeps saying it, and it's on camera. So if I'm right, I'm right. 2025 is going to be another game changer. Something big, something coming for next year. And I think that's when all the pieces will start to come together, and it won't be quite so much of a struggle for us because a lot of us are on the same kind of mission and we're doing same kind of soul purpose work, but it's such an up, it's like pushing a mountain up another mountain, isn't it? But I think that will shift next year. So thank you so very much. I'm going to get this recorded and it's going out immediately. Actually, I'm going to put it straight out immediately.
Amazing. Thanks, Jay, mate. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. I will sign off and let you go into your meeting, and I'll ping you a message soon, mate.
Perfect. Cheers, mate. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.